Please welcome James Murphy, Danny Elfman, Jodie Turner-Smith, May Nivola, Sam Nivola, Raffey Cassidy, Don Cheadle, Greta Gerwig, Adam Driver, and Noah Baumbach. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for the film and for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Dennis.
I want to try to get everybody speaking, which might be a challenge in 20 minutes, but we'll try. I'm going to start with a question for Noah. Your joke in the introduction about this being an easily filmable book. Maybe you want to elaborate on that. I'm actually curious about like what your. I assume this is a book you've known for decades, and also a book you came back to recently when you were working on it. Can you say a little bit about what white noise meant to you as a young man, and also what it meant coming back to it recently?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I read it, I think a few years after it came out. My dad had recommended it, and I loved it then. But I was a teenager. I was kind of. I loved the voice. I loved the feeling. I loved the sort of but I think there was a lot, that I didn't see in the book, or that wasn't, at 17 or whatever, wasn't really, where I was at. But I loved it, and it stayed with me in a funny way. It's like it was one of these, like I had visions from that book throughout my life since, but. It wasn't something I thought, I'm going to go back and make that book. I started rereading it again, and at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and I actually completed it essentially while we were, locked down in New York City in the pandemic, and I found this, in a way, I sort of wanted to express how I was feeling, and I didn't feel like I didn't have any original ideas. It was the first time in my career that I hadn't, after Marriage Story, I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And I found this was a kind of expression of what I was feeling in so many ways about the country, certainly in that moment, but really, I feel like the brilliance of the book is it feels like it was written after any major thing that's happened ever in this country. But so I just started doing it as an exercise, and then I started showing Greta things, and we can blame Greta because she said, let's blame. She was encouraging, and I just stayed with it, and then after a while, it felt like something of mine because now it was on my computer, and so I just kept going with it.
We can thank her. We can thank Greta.
We can thank Greta.
I think we should note that this is your first adaptation, even though you've written all your films or co-written. I'm wondering if you can say a little bit about the process of, just tackling a book of this stature, and also a book that is just, occupies such a large place in the American cultural consciousness.
Well, I feel, when I read any book, there's always a part of me that's goes entertaining a movie, not seriously, but I'm visualizing it. I'm thinking about. It's what we do when we read. It goes. We have visuals, and so. But there was something about this book at this time that I felt like that motivated me to want to go further. I wasn't. I didn't think about all the other stuff. I wasn't thinking, well, don't try it. I thought let's do it. Why not? I mean, and like I said, I felt like it was a way to say something about how I was feeling about modern life, and an expression of it, and also a depiction of it, even though it takes place in the 80s. And it was an opportunity to do something in that way that I didn't feel prepared. I didn't have an original idea that could communicate that, and that's what I felt I needed to express at that time.
Did you ever think of changing the time period, or were you always committed to 1984?
No, because I'd also had a personal, I felt like that's when the book took place, so that's when it should take place, and also it was my childhood, and I had this sort of uncanny sort of going through it. I was actually that Jack Gladney was the age of my dad at that time, almost to the exactly, and so here I was now that age writing about a time from my childhood, and that time period. The Squid and the Whale took place in the 80s. It was a lot of formative things happened for me then. I was a teenager in the 80s, and so I was actually eager to go back, and I also felt like the thing with the book is that even though it takes place then, the book and the movie have a sort of netherworld quality to them. It's the 80s, but it's like an alternate 80s. It's like it's life, but it's kind of an alternate life, and so I think bless you, it didn't really, in its a way to like modernize it would be sort of irrelevant. In a way, it was sort of like, it's about all time. So, and all the things they say about the culture and mass media and everything are even more true with the internet.
It's scarily.
Yeah, and I'd rather shoot in a supermarket than shoot people like ordering things on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, since we have so many of the amazing cast with us, I want to bring the actors in. And I think one of the remarkable things about this film is how the characters really come to life. The characters who are on the page in DeLillo's book very quotable and very memorable, but on some level still somewhat abstract. And obviously in this film they're flesh and blood and really embodied. And I think a lot of it has to do, you mentioned Anne Roth and just the physicality of these people. So I would love to hear the actors talk a little bit about bringing these characters to life. Maybe we can start with Adam and Greta, since you have both worked with Noah many times.
No, physicality is obviously a part of it. The costumes, there's all the elements. Also the way that he was shooting it was with such a style that you have to play it, but also go against the style a little bit. And the language is fast, so that was a good insight into the character, actually, where what would happen if they stopped talking, which is something we talked about a lot. And obviously in the book it's literature, so when we got together the first time reading it and to see if it would actually play as scenes, it kind of took on, it seemed actually very playable when we were reading Noah's script for the first time. So the style of the movie did a lot, honestly, and that idea of people kind of constantly keeping things at a pace, and what would happen if they actually stopped to face the thing that they are kind of avoiding was a big indication for the character. And then obviously the time period, and it's a lot about avoidance. So
yeah, we were very lucky that we sort of, Adam and I and the kids and Don, and we had rehearsal time, which you almost never do, and we had rehearsal time on locations. We all got to rehearse the supermarket scene in the supermarket before we ever shot it. And I don't want to speak for you, Don, but
go ahead. Why stop now?
Oh no. Well, but I think both of us had it, or I really am, but I'll speak for myself, and then you can say whether or not it happened to you.
I'm sure I agree.
Okay. Well, from myself, I think, because the characters on the page are, in a way they're sort of fragmented, and in a way they're these ideas. They're not quite psychologically full in the way we think of certain characters we fully identify with. So part of our task was to figure out how to make them live and breathe, but also keep that heightened tone that's true to the writing. And I think so much of that was in the rehearsal period, and then working with Anne and Mia, who made my wonderful wig, which was, and it was like this moment where, and Anne said something that was, she was like, you can watch an actor get comfortable in a character in front of you, and she's like, and usually it happens through a wig or something, and it happened in that room with Mia, and then she made this beautiful wig, which makes me sound like I'm imbuing it with magic, but I think you might have also had a wig moment.
I did have a wig moment, but I also, to piggyback on both what you said about these characters, I think something else happens in magical when you play. You look at these words and go, are they playable? But then you put on the hair and you put on the clothes and you start actually saying them, and there's a synthesis that kind of happens where you meet the character and it meets you, and I'm talking to Adam and he's playing it real, and everyone's playing it for real. So it's like we are living in this space where these characters exist. And if you're not questioning it, which we weren't, we were trying to find the truth of these characters, I think there becomes a landscape where these characters, and created by Noah and the designers and everything that we had going for us as well, that I wasn't in conflict with who this person was. I was like, yes, this is a real person. This is Murray, and this is his world, and these are the people he connects with, and this is the school he attends, and that he teaches at. So it just felt like once we believe it and buy in, that there becomes a groundedness that happens. I felt it anyway. That's for you guys to judge, but I feel like that's where we approached it. We just approached it from a very centered place as a character.
I think one scene where that's really clear is the bedroom, the revelation scene when Babette, tells Jack about, reveals the secret. I think that has an emotional resonance that's, I think, maybe not actually in the book. That scene is pretty remarkable. I want to actually ask Raffey, Sam, and May now to maybe talk a little bit about just constructing your on-screen family. It might be a little easier for Sam and May because they're related.
It was constructing.
About just how you just bonded and constructed this on-screen family unit with the four siblings.
I feel like it kind of came naturally for us. We had, or maybe obviously more for you two, but we had so long rehearsing together, and we also spent so much time together, didn't we? And going through all of the lines together, and being on set, like you say, on location, it just all kind of came together as one. It was cool.
We rehearsed a long time, and because you were all in New York, we got together. They really spent a lot of time together, the three of them.
We did, and Noah he would take us out to baseball games and dinner and stuff, and I don't know, we did a lot of fun stuff together.
That's true, but it sounds like a lie.
Yeah, and he would give us candy. It was really great. No, but it was awesome. We had all the rehearsal time to get to know each other and feel really close, and I don't know. It was.
By the time I met you guys, you guys all really felt like brothers and sisters. It was like, oh, this is a real family unit.
And it was, again, to the rehearsal period and being on location, we were all shooting in Ohio. There was a real sense of,
During COVID,
we were all together, and even though me and Jodie don't share a scene, I feel like we get to spend so much time together. And you also had a beautiful wig. We were very. I felt like we were all in the same movie, even if we weren't all in the same scenes every time. So that when I got to watch her and Adam do their scene, I was like, that's the same movie I'm in, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
It was definitely like we all felt very close, and I think like me, Raffey, and Sam, like spending a lot of time together, also like at each other, like she would come to our house and we would go to hers and we'd have sleepovers, and it felt very intimate, and it was very nice. And yeah, like what Greta was saying, it's like even if you just like saw someone for a split second, you'd be like, oh hey, like how's it going? Like what's up? And that felt very like nice to have like a close bond with everyone.
Jodie, do you want to add to that? You do have a great scene in the lab with Adam.
I mean, look, I'm just so grateful and lucky that I get to be a part of this absolutely magical film. So yeah, I got to just drop in, you know, everyone else was there all the time, and I got to just like drop in here and there and be a part of really special magic every time. And everyone was so kind and gracious to me, and I got to spend so much time. Like Greta said, it was it's a shame we weren't in any scenes together in the movie, because we spent some really great just so you know, Greta and I got to know each other very well in this film and have become lifelong friends, but
Yes.
but yeah, it's not reflected in the film, but
You can tell.
Not in this one. Stay tuned.
but yeah, no, it felt very much like a family atmosphere, so that spoke a lot to what you were creating, Noah, just every day. I mean, and even as you were saying, like, it felt so, every time I would see you guys, you would all be so like kind and warm to me, even though we had no scenes together. And it felt really special. It just felt special, like we were doing this really special thing out in Ohio, and I was just very grateful to be dropping in and be part of it.
Well, when we were shooting in the car, and then, you know, the kids would be saying all their stuff, and I said to them, you know, think of yourselves like a radio that's turned on at the beginning of the movie and then just goes for the entire movie. But we would cut, and then, you know, we'd be, you know, resetting or thinking about what's next, and I would have the headphones on, and then I would just hear what sounded like the movie, but it was just the kids talking regularly about throwing facts around and talking about whatever they were talking about. But it was there really was very little difference.
Like sort of like the white noise of the film.
Like the white noise.
Like at the professor's sort of lunch table too. You were like, everyone talk over each other. Everyone reaching for stuff at the same time. They're not really. It's not really a, you know, A-B conversation. It's just A conversations. And you know.
All right, I think we do have to wrap it up, but I want to bring Danny and James in before we end. The importance of music in this film. It's always been important in your films, but I think it's really important here in terms of how the film just balances all these tones. I think Danny's score is really important.
Well, I was really jealous because I wanted a wig. And I tried to write it in my deal, and Netflix refused. And so I proceeded regardless. But for me, I'll just say briefly that every now and then I get to do a score for a film that reminds me why I like being a film composer in the first place, and this was one of those. So it was just a nice reminder that, oh yeah, I actually like this job. It's fun sometimes. And I'll turn it over to you.
I didn't get a microphone.
It's a music department microphone.
Yeah, I thought it was just because I'm a professional vocalist that I would just project. I also didn't get a wig. But no, I'm very excited. We just met today, so I'm just having a nice moment. You can imagine. No, I've done things with Noah before, and it's always really fun because he's the only person I like working for. So it's a low bar. But no, I'm very proud to be a part of this film as well.
We're proud.
That was good. You did good.
I did.
You did
the
good.
8-year-old who doesn't want to be talking anymore face.
All right, I think we do have to wrap it up, actually. So, thank you, all of you, for being here with us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.